Hello everybody, it's Wendy here from the Indigo Blue team with a sort of stash building project, I suppose you'd call it today, rather than a finished item. Quite recently we had the Ladies of Science and the Gentlemen of Science paper pads released that were absolutely fabulous, and I thought I'd use up some of the scraps that I'd cut into. I'll keep the whole pages for something else just in case I want a bigger image, but I've got all these bits and pieces here that have had bits cut out of them, so clearly I'm not going to waste them. So what I've done earlier is I've made some white card tags using the tag templates, and that's what these are. And then I've backed them, or fronted them really, with some text paste papers, some music paper, some of the background type paper from the paper pad. So that's that first bit, that's that size. And then I did some smaller tags, which I think was actually the inner of this one here. That's right, so the large one is the inner from that, and the smaller one is the inner tag from this smaller template piece. And again, I've cut pieces from the paper pad for these ones and stuck them on. The larger ones I wanted to be more kind of background pieces, so they're a little bit neutral. That one's not, that's got a little bit of the paper pad on it. But the small ones, I thought I'd have more imagery on it, because what we're going to do is layer these over the top. So the first thing I want to do, having got these stuck and dried, is just very quickly give everything an edge with some vintage photo. That's got an edge that hasn't quite lined up, so that just needs trimming off, and that's done really quickly. So just a quick whiz round with a blending tool and vintage photo. I got this idea from a crafter called Tracy Fox, who some of you might follow on YouTube, and she has all sorts of downloads and things that you can buy. Some of them are free, I think, but I thought, what's the point of buying or downloading all the stuff when you've got perfectly good stuff in your stash already to make with, and use up what you've got and make it go a bit further. That's already done, and this one. Give them a bit more of a vintage look, and it all sort of blends in nicely. That one's not quite dry. I can still see the glue there. I used Slap It On to stick them together, and just a bit of inkiness over the surface just to bring it all together. Right, so the next thing I want to do is to kind of pair things up with what I want to go where. I'll just move those bits and then I'll talk about those later. Alright, so I'll lay out the large ones first. And what I'm doing really is kind of rehearsing what I want to go with what, because the idea is that we're going to make these either floating tags or tags that are stuck on, just to make these tags a little bit more interesting. So that one's quite a plain one, so I think we'll pop that on there. We'll have a little bit of interest on that one. That one can go. Those two flowery ones, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put that on here. I think I want that to be a bit browner if it's going there, so let's give it a bit more treatment with the vintage photo. Just to change that colour scheme a little bit so it fits. There we are. And then I've cut out from the scraps just little elements, you know, like the Tim Holtz ephemera, which I've got here, this kind of thing. I thought rather than use that, I'll cut out the bits from the paper and use that. So I've kind of gone through and found interesting little pieces. So we've got a date there, July 25th, 1893. Patented January 25th, 1916. Got bits and pieces there. A number 1,169,497. Another bit of number here. Got this tape measure. So I thought these little bits will go on as extra extra pieces, just to give it a little bit more interest. But before we do that, I want to do some stamping on the base tags. So I'll put those above so I know what's going where. And the stamps I've pulled out are the Ledger background stamp, the Bordering on the Ridiculous, and Calculus. I maybe won't use all of them, but I just want a little bit of interest on these background stamps before we start sticking stuff on. So I'll find my stamping block, which is probably hiding now under all these scraps of paper, but not to worry because there's always another one, isn't there? So I'll get my thin Lizzies. I don't want too big one. I might even do it just using my hand. And from the Ledger, I don't know whether to use the Ledger, I quite like these splodgy bits, so I might just try some of these splodges, and I will do that by hand. And I don't necessarily want too much inking, but just enough to take the background away. Oops, it's getting everywhere. Put a little bit on some of these upper tags as well. Some of them have already got a bit more detail on than others. So I think that'll do for the splodges. There's the scribble from Bordering on the Ridiculous. So we'll try a bit of that. I quite like this bit in the middle there. See how that goes. On the bottom. And I'm sure there are loads of different stamps you could use for this. These are just the ones I picked out that I thought looked a little bit grungy, a bit industrial, and that worked for the project that I wanted to do. Oops. There's a little circle on this one as well, on the bordering on the ridiculous, this scribble circle, which is quite nice. I will put that on the stamp mat block because it's a little bit too small to work with just your hands. So just adding a little bit into the background, no fuss, no big deal. And I think that's enough stamping, so I'll pop those to one side along with that and the ink. So I don't know if you can see these now. There we are. So as I said, I've got all these little bits of scraps of numbers and what have you. So I'm just going to start popping some of those on in various places. I'm not going to sort of think too much about it. Bring that down the bottom. And you can put as many of these as you like on. These are just bits and pieces, as I say, that you might think of as what do you call it, collage pieces that just add a little bit extra. I nearly put that one on upside down. Part of one of the pages was one of these measuring tapes, so I'll take a little bit of that. I can always go over these with a bit more ink later. A name there that I can use. I'm going to leave that there in case I want to put some more on. I'll see what I've got that will go on the smaller pieces now. I've cut out these two men and they, I think, will go nicely on there. I've got some postage stamps. So I've got some packets of these on Retford Market when I was there recently, but I'm sure you've got postage stamps in your stash that'll do the job. That'll go on there, I think. I took my hole punch, not hole punch, well it is, yeah, my 1-inch punch, and I've just punched some pieces out as well from the papers, just to again add something more, so that can go with that. Whenever that date might just fit on there if I cut it down. Yep, I can trim that. There's another bit of the hole punch that I did. That's just a bit of colour. I'll use that. A photograph that I've just cut out into a square. So we'll put that on there, I think. Oops. I've got a bit more hole punch stuff, just a piece of text. Put that behind his head. I'll use some more of that tape. That's a nice standalone image in itself, I think. I'm not sure I really want to cover up too much of that. And I've got this lady of science here. I am going to cut her down a little bit more around the shape of her. There we go. A frilly ruff on the front of her dress. So where shall I put her? There we are. She can go with the French stamp. She could be like Marie Curie, couldn't she? I think she'll go on there quite well. And I'm still not sure about this. It needs something, but I don't want to cover it up too much. Maybe just this tiny little piece in the top. See, this is the kind of scrap I mean. I've just cut that out, the woman there, and I flip it over, and that piece there is a perfect little bit of collage material that I can cut. There's so much in these images that you can use. Okay. Right, let's get that stuck on and see what we think that looks like. Remembering I've got to make holes in all of these tags as well. Oh, I should really have edged them with some vintage photo, that would have been better. Just quickly as I stick them down. especially these pieces, they're a bit on the white side. We can add some colour to those. I quite like doing this kind of thing, making multiple items of something, and then you've always got a bag of stuff that you can draw on when you don't want to start from scratch, or you just need an extra something and you're not quite sure what. Oops. Got glue on my fingers and it's just ripped a bit of the paper, but never mind. It'll work. They're all stuck on. I'm just going to go over that to vintage it up a bit with the vintage photo so it's a bit darker. There we are. And he needs a bit more glue behind his head. What a predicament to be in. There we are. So we'll move those focal point pieces away. And let's have a look what these look like now when they're going on the top. So that'll go on the top of there. And they'll go on there. So they're looking pretty good. Now some of them I'm going to mount with some double-sided tape. And others I'll do as kind of like floating tags, if you like. But the first thing I need to do is to put some holes in each of them. So if I go back to my tag templates, oh no, these don't have the holes in, do they? I'll just do it by eye. I don't have the holes for the inner bits because they're holes already. Right, so bring in the crocodile, and I'll do it from the other side so I can sort of see roughly where the middle is. Excuse my head. There we are. And I'll do that more or less in line. If you get one right, you might as well use it to help you get the others right. I did a workshop just recently with Dina Wakely, and one of her phrases is, "Oops, oh well." And I think that's a great attitude, as we get too hung up sometimes on everything being perfect. So, oops, oh well. There we are. Let's have a look what we've got. Straighten that off a bit. Right, I'm going to put twine through all of the little tags, whether they're going to be mounted on the big tag or not. So I'll just cut myself some bits of twine. And thread it through. I pulled one edge through and not the other. Let's start again. Made life hard for myself by cutting the twine perhaps a little bit on the short side, but that's life. It's so much better use of time to have, you know, several tags under construction at the same time, so that you're using the same inks, using the same colours or paint or whatever it is, rather than trying to do everything from start to finish all the time. There we are. And I think I'll put some what are they called? These things. And the big ones. Some of the big ones at least. And again, I'll not be too precious about the colour or anything for these, because they all work with this vintage sort of vibe. Whoops, I need to move that across. goes away. There we are. So I need to put the thread in the larger tags now. I'll do these a bit longer. Work better with the bigger tag, and it'll be easier for me to thread them through. So there's no great new techniques or anything here. I'm just playing, using up my stash and having things to hand so that when I want to do a journal page or something like that, or I want to have something to pop in a pocket, there's a few things here that I can pull on. And if you think about how many bits of papers you've got, the flowery ones, the Alice in Wonderland ones, these grungy, vintage, sciencey ones, there's so many different looks you could be making. You'll have something for every occasion, I'm sure. And it's a nice thing to do when your creativity perhaps isn't on full, you know, your mojo's not fully there, but you just want to play. So I don't know what I'm going to use them for. I don't really care at the moment. I'll just have them and use them as and when, but I've had fun doing it, and that's the main thing. So I want to get some double-sided tape, and it's foam tape, so I'm going to, these will be raised up a little bit, which will give the extra dimension to them. I wonder if I can get that one through there and have this as a sort of a hanging tag. Let's see. Not easily. We won't give up. There we are. And I'll just knot that at the back. There we are, so that just hangs on the base tag. I'll cut that down a bit so it doesn't show. That one's too short, so that I'll get a bit of film tape on it. And the other option is just to stick it down flat without any dimensions, so I'll do that one just to ring the changes. All those bits, remember to wind the nozzle down on the glue and give it a wipe. And I think that is it. I've been looking at these now. What do you think about the... I think they look better without. Do you think that looks a bit tidier? I think it probably does, don't you? The size of them, is there too much twine around the top? I think there might be, so I'm going to take those off. Apart from the one that's the hanging one, obviously. So it might have been better to not actually punch a hole in those at all. Maybe if I were doing it next time, I'll not punch the hole. I'll just leave it be. But I'm not disappointed with them there actually. Okay, no worries. So there we are. We've got some layered tags using up scraps from our Ladies of Science and Gentlemen of Science, the paper pads, a little bit of background stamping just to give it a little bit of texture, and finding collage pieces from within some of the images on those pages. Nice stash of tags to put in the drawer for whenever, and you don't know when you might see them coming out for another project. Hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you give it a go. Do share anything that you make on our I Love Indigo Blue Facebook page, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.